One of the more interesting lyrics, sonnets that Dante produces is "Guido, I wish." The contrast with some of his other work isn't always all that poetically flattering. It's not necessarily the most sophisticated poetically, but what he's doing um, uh, as a matter of philosophy is kind of interesting here. It's a very personal thing. He's talking about real people. He's talking about his friends and how he wishes that they could spend more time together theoretically and spend more time together in a very idealized way. It's a nice little snapshot into his social life, into his personal life, and the result again, while not poetically overwhelming, it's very good. It's a very nice sonnet. It's just a curiosity for what it actually does. Guido, I wish. Guido, I wish that you and Lapo and I, spirited on the wings of a magic spell, could drift in a ship where every rising swell would sweep us at our will across the skies. Then tempest never, or any weather dire, could ever make our blissful living cease. No, but abiding in a steady, blessed peace, together we'd share the increase of desire. And Lady Vanna and Lady Lagia, then and she who looms above the 30 best, would join us at the good enchanter's behest. And there we talk of love without an end, to make those ladies happy in the sky, with Lapo enchanted, too, and you and I. It's it's him talking about basically planning a weekend with his friends, and they'll bring along the girls just to make it a party. But it's more than that. It is more significant than that. It is a desire for Dante to meet with his friend Guido, which is Guido Cavalcanti, a slightly older poet, not much, but a colleague, somebody on his level. And then Lapo is was it Lapo Gianni, another poet, a little lesser light among the Firenzen few, but a not insignificant person. Dante wants to go and take a little trip with them, a boat trip, a little afternoon, perhaps a an idyll of some sort, where they would engage in philosophical discussion, where they would aspire to be their best selves, where they would use the nobility, the inherent nobility of the noble heart, of poetry, of love, and create themselves or nudge themselves closer to divinity, closer to that realm of perfection. Um, no. But abiding in a steady, blessed peace, together we'd share the increase of desire. That is not necessarily desire physically, although you can read it that way, and certainly a lot of scholars do. This is not them planning necessarily, anything too sleazy, but this is an increase in desire for God, an increase of desire for blessedness, because in the Dantean conception, the closer you get to God, the further higher up you elevate yourself, you ennoble yourself. That just increases your desire further for reaching the goal, and you see that in there. And it has some interesting little poetical marks. It has the nautical references, the nautical metaphors. Could drift in a ship where every rising swell would sweep us at our will across the skies. Then tempest never, or any weather dire, could ever make our blissful living cease. The idea of life in this kind of idyllic, Arcadian, almost philosophical repose is a calm lake, a calm river, a calm body of water that is cooling and refreshing and still, and you can just drift. It is a very idealized frame of reference. But what's interesting about this poem that I find is that he is talking about real people. He's talking about his friends Guido and Lapo, and they're going to go off. And he's talking even about, yeah, we're going to bring our ladies to it. And there's a lot of speculation about Dante's lady here as to whether he's referencing his notable Beatrice, and yeah, the whole reference to 30 is a reference to a poem he wrote that we no longer have, but we have heard of, that where he lists in order the most beautiful women in Florence. And Beatrice on that list, I believe, is number 9. That is not necessarily a ranking so much as scholars speculate. Well, 9 is always a very special number to Dante because it begins with the Trinity and multiplies itself by the Trinity. So 3 times 3 is a perfect number in Dantean lore because it is the Trinity multiplied by itself. So there's that. And the exact identity, it doesn't really matter. The fact is, Dante is taking real people, and instead of dwelling in his poem completely on the ideal plane, on the Platonic ideal, on the ideal of God, instead of dwelling entirely upon that, as Cavalcante and Guizzanelli tend to do, he is saying, well, no, let's focus on us and get us closer to that. Let's, instead of trying to bring the ideal down to earth, we're going to take the earthly people, the mundane world, and try and aspire to the divinity. Now, this isn't necessarily unique to him, but it's an interesting step along his development, because everything in Dante is about a warm-up to the Commedia. This is the precursor, I would say, of that image of Dante looking up at the stars, le stelle, at the end of each of the three chapters of the comedy, of the Inferno, of the Purgatorio, the Paradiso. At the end of each one ends with the image of Dante the Pilgrim looking up at the stars in a kind of wonder, which is the image of worship, which is the image of a human being grasping or striving to understand the divine. That is the beginning of the Renaissance. That is the moment that it is given birth. That aspiration, that focus on humanity, but a humanity that is imagining the perfect. It's not the focus just on the perfect and the indivisible, or the unbreachable, rather, gap between them. This is the hope that they can ascend. This is the hope that they can climb that ladder through the ennobling of heart, through the ennobling of love. You can become better. You can achieve that perfection. And if that has to happen through a weekend with the guys, or just a party with the guys and their ladies, sure. It's taking that recognition of the meeting place between the divine and the human, and centering it in the human world, but pointing